15 counters failed, but the black delivery girl arrived and told the millionaire, "Don't sign this." The Mont Blanc pen hovered millimeters from the paper. "Mr. Oliveira, please just sign here and here." The accountant's voice sounded calm, almost bored, as if this were just another protocol. "These are the merger documents. 15 auditors have already reviewed it. It's all right." Ricardo Oliveira, CEO of Oliveira Holdings, looked at the pile of contracts on the mahogany table. 62 years old, gray hair, Italian suit, tired eyes. He was about to sign the biggest operation of his life, the merger with the Almeida Corp Group, 400 million reais at stake, the survival of 1,200 jobs, the legacy of 30 years of work. But something deep in his stomach whispered, wait. He didn't know that. At that very moment, Salvation was crossing the glass gate of the corporate building. Red helmet, thermal backpack on his back, worn sneakers. Marina Santos, 34, an app delivery person, climbed the marble steps carrying a pharmacy bag. She didn't know she was about to change the fate of an empire. Marina pushed the revolving door and felt the air conditioning freeze the sweat on the back of her neck. The lobby of the Oliveira Tower building was everything it never had. Crystal chandeliers, mirrored floors, security guards in suits. She tightened the strap of her cooler backpack and walked up to the receptionist, a blonde with perfect nails who looked her up and down with the kind of disdain Marina had known since she was a child. Delivery to the 22nd floor. Marina showed her cell phone with the order. "Mr. Ricardo Oliveira." The receptionist wrinkled her nose. "You can't go up like that. You have to leave it here at the reception. The customer requested delivery by hand. It's here in the app." "I don't care what's on the app, leave it here." Marina took a deep breath. She knew this game. I knew the look that said, "You don't belong here," but she had bills to pay. There was Davi, her 7-year-old son, waiting at home with his grandmother. He was late on his rent. He had a dignity that no one could steal no matter how hard they tried. "Mr. Oliveira has diabetes. The medicine needs to be refrigerated. If you delay, he could get sick." She kept her voice firm, polite, but with the strength of someone who doesn't give up. "I can go up, deliver, and come down in 3 minutes." The receptionist snorted and picked up the phone. 2 minutes later, Marina entered the mirrored elevator. He saw his reflection, black skin shining with sweat, hair tied in a tight bun, uniform with the app's logo. She didn't look like someone with an accounting degree. She didn't look like someone who had been the best student in her class. He didn't look like someone who had sent out 127 resumes and received 0 responses. It looked like what it was, an invisible black woman, carrying medicine for those who could afford it. The 22nd floor was silent and imposing. Gray carpet, glass walls, abstract paintings. Marina followed the signs to the presidential room. The door was ajar. She knocked lightly. "Come in." The voice sounded distant. Marina pushed the door and entered a huge room. Floor-to-ceiling windows showed the city below, small and distant. In the center, a giant table. Around, 6 men in suits, all white. Everyone looked at her with the same expression. What is this delivery girl doing here? Ricardo Oliveira was sitting at the head, pen still in hand, documents spread out. He looked up, confused. "Delivery, sir." Marina approached, taking the thermal bag out of her backpack. "Your insulin." "Oh yes, thanks." He took the bag without really looking at it, his mind still on the papers. "You can leave it on the table over there." Marina placed the bag on the side table. I was going to turn to leave, but then his eyes fell on the table. In the documents, in the spreadsheets open on the laptop, in the number she recognized instantly. His heart raced. She saw the error, saw the fraud, he saw the abyss, and she couldn't keep quiet. "Sir," his voice was low, trembling, "don't sign that." The silence was immediate and heavy. All eyes turned to her. One of the men, tall, graying, snake-eyed, stood up from his chair. "Excuse me?" he said, voice dripping with venom. "Who are you?" Marina swallowed hard. "I knew I was crossing a line. I knew I could be expelled, humiliated, reported to the app." But he looked at Ricardo Oliveira and saw a man about to lose everything. I saw the numbers." She pointed to the spreadsheets. "This fusion, there's something wrong." The gray-haired man gave a dry laugh. "Did you see the numbers?" He walked towards her, threatening. "What are you? Accountant? Auditor?" "I have a degree in accounting, yes." Marina lifted her chin, even with her hands shaking. "And this report is hiding debts. Lots of debt." Ricardo Oliveira frowned. For the first time, he really looked at Marina. He saw a black woman with a delivery backpack saying something that 15 highly paid accountants didn't say. "Claudio." Ricardo looked at the gray-haired man. "Who is this girl?" "It's the delivery girl, Ricardo." Claudio Mendez, the company's financial director, forced a condescending smile. "She brought your medicine and now she's having delusions of grandeur." The other men laughed. Marina felt the heat rise to her face. The humiliation. "I knew it well. They're not delusions," she insisted, her voice firmer. I know how to read a balance sheet, and this one is lying. Passives are being reclassified as long-term investments. This is accounting fraud, Mr. Oliveira. If you sign this merger, you will assume a debt of almost 200 million that does not appear in the documents. The laughter died. Claudio turned pale. The other accountants looked at each other. Ricardo dropped the pen. Get out, Claudio said, pointing to the door. Now, before I call security. Wait. Ricardo raised his hand. He looked at Marina with curiosity and something else. Distrust? Hope? How do you know that? Marina took a deep breath. It was now or never. Because I spent the last 4 years delivering lunchboxes, medicine, and pizzas. But before that I studied 5 years at a public college. I was the best in the class. I have active CRC. She pointed to the spreadsheets. And I know a fraudulent accounting maneuver when I see one. Claudio took a step forward, his face red. Ricardo, this is absurd. This woman came here to deliver medicine and is trying to sabotage the company's biggest operation. 15 accountants reviewed these documents. 15 independent auditors with decades of experience. That they failed? Marina cut in, looking straight at Claudio. Or they were paid to fail. The accusation fell like a bomb. Claudio turned white, then red, then purple. Get out of here now, he shouted, pointing to the door. Security. Ricardo raised his hand again more firmly. Claudio, calm down. He looked at Marina. Are you accusing my CFO of fraud? I don't know if it's him, Marina said, her voice trembling but firm. But I know that someone in this room is lying to you. And I know that if you sign these papers now, you will lose everything. Ricardo was silent. He looked at Marina. He looked at Claudio. He looked at the documents. And for the first time in 30 years in business, he heard the instinct that screamed, don't sign. Show Almeida Corp's long-term liabilities, he said, his voice low and dangerous. Now, Claudio swallowed dryly. Ricardo, this is ridiculous. Let's not listen to a what, Claudio? Ricardo stood up, tall, imposing. Finish the sentence. Claudio closed his mouth. The other counters looked at the floor. Marina was breathing quickly, her heart beating in her chest. She knew she had just entered a game much bigger than herself, but I couldn't go back any longer. Ricardo picked up the laptop and started scrolling through the spreadsheets. His eyes scanned the numbers with increasing speed, and then he stopped, blinked. It returned. He looked again. Claudio, he said, his voice icy. Where is the tax contingencies section? It's on page 47. It is not. Ricardo turned the laptop. It is omitted. He looked at Marina. Is that what you saw? Marina approached, trembling, pointed to a specific line. Here, sir. Reclassification of obligations. This is not a technical term. It's makeup. If you open the federal revenue annexes, you will see that Almeida Corp has 230 million in unprovisioned labor claims. Ricardo opened the attachments. His face turned gray. Claudio, he said without taking his eyes off the screen. Did you know that? Ricardo, did you know that? The silence was deafening. Marina took a step back, feeling the weight of the moment. She had just detonated a bomb, and I didn't know if I was going to survive the explosion. Ricardo closed the laptop with a dry click. He looked at Claudio and the other accountants, and for the first time in 30 years he saw the truth. He had been betrayed. All of you, he said, his voice low and deadly. Get out of my room. Now, Ricardo, I can explain. Get out! The 6 men left silently like rats fleeing a sinking ship. Claudio was the last. At the door, he looked at Marina with pure hatred, and then he left, slamming the door. Marina was alone with Ricardo Oliveira. He was sitting, his hands shaking, his face in his palms. My God, he whispered. I almost signed that. Marina didn't know what to say. He stood there, backpack on his back, waiting to be dismissed, waiting to be forgotten. But Ricardo looked up, and for the first time he looked at her as if she were a person who had just saved his life. What is your name? He asked. Marina Santos. Marina. He got up and walked towards her. Thanks. You just saved me. Marina felt her eyes burn. I didn't expect gratitude. I expected to be expelled. I just saw the error, sir, and I couldn't keep quiet. 15 accountants, Ricardo said, looking at the documents with disgust. 15 highly paid professionals, and they all failed, or they were bought. He looked at Marina again, and then he asked the question that would change everything. Are you free now? I need you to help me review these documents. All of them. Marina blinked, confused. Sir, I have 3 more deliveries. How much do you earn per delivery? 10 reais. Ricardo took out his wallet and took out 350s. Cancel deliveries. You work for me today. Marina looked at the money. 150 reais. More than she earned in a full day's work. And then he looked at Ricardo Oliveira. He saw a man surrounded by enemies. A man who had just discovered he couldn't trust anyone. I accept, she said, taking the money. But on one condition, which, if I find any more errors, you will listen to me. even if I'm just a delivery girl. Ricardo smiled for the first time, a tired but sincere smile. Deal made. Marina took off her backpack and pulled out a chair. He sat at the mahogany table next to one of the most powerful men in the city, and he started reading. Yet an hour later, Marina was in the third folder of documents when the door opened. A secretary entered, pale. "Mr. Oliveira, Dr. Mendez is demanding an immediate meeting with you. He said that—" She looked at Marina uncomfortably. "He said that there was a misunderstanding." Ricardo didn't take his eyes off the spreadsheet that Marina was explaining. "Tell Claudio he's suspended until further notice, and that I want the names of the 15 accountants who reviewed this contract. All." The secretary swallowed and left. Marina felt the weight of the silence. "Mr. Oliveira, if I caused problems—" "You didn't cause any problems, Marina." Ricardo leaned back in his chair, rubbing his eyes. "You revealed the problems. And this is very different." He looked at her with genuine curiosity. "Why are you delivering lunchboxes? With your education, you should be working in a large company." Marina smiled, but it was a bitter smile. "I've sent out 127 resumes in the last 2 years, sir. Do you know how many interviews I got? How many? 3. And in every case, they told me that I didn't have the company's profile." She made quotation marks with her fingers. Translation: "I wasn't white enough. I didn't have enough surnames. There wasn't enough network." Ricardo was silent. There was something in that silence that Marina couldn't decipher. Blame? Recognition? Anger? "That's going to change," he said, looking straight at her. "From today." Marina didn't understand what he meant, but he didn't have time to ask, because at that moment something on the spreadsheet caught his attention. She frowned, clicked on a hidden tab, and then his heart stopped. "Mr. Oliveira," she said, her voice trembling, "you need to see this." Ricardo bowed and read it, and what he saw made him lose his mind. It wasn't just 200 million in hidden debts. It was worse, much worse. There was a hidden clause on page 89 of the contract, a clause that gave the partners of Almeida Corp the right to assume controlling interest in Oliveira Holdings in the event of operational default, something that would be inevitable with those debts. It wasn't a merger, it was a trap, one blow, a robbery, and 15 accountants had missed it, or they were paid to let it go. Ricardo stood up, his legs wobbling. He walked to the window. He looked at the city below. Your empire, 30 years of work, 1,200 jobs, families, dreams, and someone had tried to steal everything. "Marina," he said without turning around, "you just saved my company." Marina was silent. He didn't know whether to be proud or afraid, because now she knew the truth, and the truth was dangerous. Ricardo turned around, his eyes hard. "I need you to stay with me on this investigation. I need to know who is behind this. I need someone I can trust." "Sir, I don't know if— 1,000 reais a day, until we're done." Marina blinked. 1,000 reais a day, more than she earned in a full week of deliveries. Enough money to pay the rent, to buy real food, to enroll Davy in a better school. But it was also 1,000 reais per day of danger, because someone had just tried to steal an empire, and that person wouldn't like to be discovered. "I accept," Marina said, "but my son, he'll be safe, I promise." Marina nodded, and in that moment, he sealed his fate, because outside, somewhere in the building, Claudio Mendez was making calls. Links people, dangerous connections, and Marina Santos's name had just been added to the blacklist of very powerful people, and very dangerous. Farsa Marina has just discovered that the merger was actually a scam to steal Ricardo's company, and Claudio Mendez, the financial director, is making secret calls. Who is behind the conspiracy? Did the 15 accountants fail due to incompetence, or were they bought out? And Marina, will she be safe now that she knows too much? Night fell over Sao Paulo, but the presidential room was still lit. Marina was in her 5th folder of documents when her cell phone vibrated for the 10th time. It was the grandmother, Dona Celia. She hung up the call again, guilt tightening her chest. David must have been asking for her. It was Wednesday, the day to watch cartoons together before bed. "Do you need to answer?" Ricardo asked, looking at his cell phone on the table. "It's my grandmother. Take care of my son while I work." Marina rubbed her tired eyes. "But she will understand." Ricardo observed Marina in silence. He saw the short, clean nails, the calloused hands from pedaling, the deep tiredness in his eyes, and he saw something else, determination, the same determination he had in his early 20s, when he built his first shed with his own hands. "How old is your son?" 7. "David." Marina smiled for the first time, a real smile. "He's a smart boy. He wants to be an astronaut." "Astronaut." Ricardo smiled too. "My son wanted to be a racing driver. Today he works in London in the financial market. I see him once a year." There was something in that silence that said more than words. 2 different worlds, but the same loneliness. "You can call him," Ricardo said. "Your son. Tell them you'll be late." Marina took out her cell phone and dialed. Grandma answered on the first ring. Marina, it is good too. You're never so late. It's okay, Grandma. I got some extra work today. An important work. She looked at Ricardo, still in disbelief. I'm going to earn more today than I earn in a whole week. Thank God, my daughter. Davy is here next door. Wants to talk to you. Marina heard her son's high-pitched and excited voice. Mother, Grandma said you're working in a big building. Is there an elevator? Yes, there is an elevator, my love. It has 22 floors. Wow. Did you take the elevator 22 times? Marina laughed, her eyes teary. Just once, David, but it was pretty cool. She took a deep breath. Listen, son, Mom will be late today, but tomorrow we'll make popcorn and watch whatever movie you want, okay? Okay, Mom. I love you. I love you too. Until later. Marina hung up and looked at her cell phone. Ricardo saw a tear run down her face. A tear that she quickly wiped away, returning to the documents as if nothing had happened. But something had happened. Ricardo had seen it. I had seen the woman behind the delivery girl, the mother behind the numbers, the fighter behind invisibility, and he decided that if he survived this conspiracy, he would change some things in his company. 3 hours later, the table was covered in papers, colored post-its, red markings. Marina had separated the documents into 3 piles: clean, suspicious, and confirmed fraud. The pile of frauds was the biggest. This is an iceberg, Marina said, pointing to a specific spreadsheet. What we saw before was just the tip. Almeida Corp has hidden liabilities in at least 7 shell companies. Ricardo leaned over, frowning. How did you find that out? The CNPJs. Marina opened an Excel tab. All these companies have the same pattern in the last 4 digits. It's as if someone created them in batch, and look here. She clicked on another tab. They were all opened in the same month, 3 years ago. 3 years. Ricardo turned pale. That was when I started negotiating the merger. Marina nodded. The truth was becoming clear. This was not a mistake. It was a plan. A 3-year plan. Meticulous. Calculated. Mortal. Mr. Oliveira, someone knew that you were going to accept this merger. Someone close. Ricardo got up and walked to the window. Below, the city shone, indifferent to the drama unfolding on the 22nd floor. Claudio, he said, his voice bitter. He has been my financial director for 15 years. He was the best man at my son's wedding. He had dinner at my house hundreds of times. It might not just be him, Marina said softly. To set up an operation like this, you need more people, lawyers, accountants, auditors, maybe even someone inside Almeida Corp. Ricardo turned around, his eyes shining dangerously. Are you saying that Almeida Corp is also being deceived? Or he's in on the scam? Marina opened another folder. I need to see the documents of Almeida's partners. Shareholding structure, history, cross-holdings. If I can map who wins with ISS. The door opened abruptly. They both turned. It was Ricardo's secretary, Fernanda, with a tense face. Mr. Oliveira, Dr. Claudio has returned. He's in the hallway with 3 other directors. They say they need to talk to you. She looked at Marina with concern. They said it's about irregularities. Ricardo and Marina exchanged a look. The counterattack had begun. Send them in, Ricardo said, his voice firm. And Fernanda, and stay in the room. I want witnesses. Fernanda nodded and opened the door. Claudio entered first, accompanied by 3 men in suits. Marina recognized them. They were the accountants who were at the meeting earlier, but now their faces were closed. Dangerous. Claudio looked at Marina as if he were looking at an insect. Ricardo, we need to talk. Alone. Anything you have to say can be said in front of Miss Santos, Ricardo replied, crossing his arms. She's my temporary consultant. Consultant? Claudio gave a dry laugh. Ricardo, this woman came here as a delivery girl and is causing unnecessary chaos. She has no credentials, no market experience, and is making very serious accusations without any basis. I have an active CRC and 5 years of training, Marina said, keeping her voice calm. And the numbers don't lie. Numbers can be interpreted in many ways, one of the accountants said arrogantly. You clearly don't understand the nuances of complex corporate mergers. I understand enough to know that hiding 200 million in liabilities is a crime, Marina replied. Claudio approached Ricardo, completely ignoring Marina. Ricardo, I came here as your friend, as someone who worked alongside you for 15 years. He placed his hand on Ricardo's shoulder. You're tired, stressed, and this person is taking advantage of this to plant unfounded doubts. Unfounded. Ricardo took Claudio's hand off his shoulder, then explained the clause on page 89, the one that gives controlling interest to Almeida's partners in the event of default. The silence was heavy. Claudio blinked. The 3 accountants looked at each other. That's a standard protection clause, Claudio said, but his voice had lost its firmness. In any merger of this size. Then explain why the tax contingencies section was omitted, Marina cut in, and why 7 shell companies were opened 3 years ago. all linked to Almeida Corp. Claudio turned pale, then red, then purple. He pointed to Marina, his hand shaking. You have no authority to touch these documents. Ricardo, this is an invasion of corporate privacy. I will sue. You're not going to sue anyone, Ricardo said, his voice cutting like steel. Because I gave her permission, and now I want answers, Claudio. Did you know about these shell companies? This is ridiculous. Did you know? Claudio took a deep breath. Marina saw the exact moment he decided to change strategy. He saw the mask fall, and another rise, more dangerous. Okay, Claudio said, raising his hands in surrender. All good. I'll be honest with you, Ricardo. Yes, I knew about the companies, but it's not what you think. They were created as tax protection vehicles. It's completely legal. Almeida Corp consulted me, and I advised them within the revenue regulations. And why didn't you tell me? Ricardo asked. Because you were focused on the strategic aspects of the merger. I take care of the operational part. I always took care. You trust me, remember? It was a smart move. Claudio was trying to separate Ricardo from Marina. I was trying to reactivate 15 years of friendship, of trust, of shared history. And for a moment, Ricardo hesitated. Marina saw the hesitation, and I knew I had to act. Mr. Oliveira, she said, opening the laptop. Can I show you something? Marina, I think that's enough for today, Claudio began. Shut up, Ricardo said without taking his eyes off Marina. Show me. Marina turned the laptop. On the screen, a bank transfer, 5 million reais. Sender, Almeida Participações S.E.A. Recipient, CM Consultoria. CM, Marina said, looking at Claudio. Claudio Mendes? The silence was absolute. Claudio turned white as paper. The three accountants took a step back like rats abandoning ship. This, Claudio stammered. This is a payment for consultancy. Completely cool. Dated 2 weeks ago. Marina continued. 2 days before the merger was signed, and not declared in any internal report by Oliveira Holdings. Ricardo stood up slowly. Marina had never seen someone so dangerous in silence. Claudio, he said, his voice low and deadly. You sold my company. No, Ricardo, you don't understand. 5 million? Ricardo approached. Is this the price of your loyalty? Are 15 years of friendship worth 5 million? You don't know anything from the... Claudio exploded, completely losing control. You, with your perfect company, your clean name, your reputation, you never needed to get dirty. You never had to choose between ethics and survival. So you chose to betray me, Ricardo said, each word dripping with venom. He chose to destroy 1,200 jobs. He chose to end 30 years of work. For money. Claudio laughed bitterly. For money? Do you think it's just money? He pointed to Ricardo. You never gave me credit. You never promoted me beyond director. I was always the shadow, never the protagonist. And when Almeida offered me a way out, you accepted, Marina added, and you took others with you. Claudio looked at Marina with pure hatred. This is your fault, he said, his voice shaking. You weren't supposed to be here. You were supposed to deliver some medicine and disappear. But no, you had to stick your nose where it wasn't called. She saved my company, Ricardo said. She destroyed everything, Claudio shouted. 3 years of planning, 3 years, and a lunchbox delivery woman finished everything in 3 hours. The insult cut the air like a knife. Marina felt the weight of the word, delivery person, said with contempt, told to decrease, told to delete, but she didn't lower her eyes. I'm a delivery person, yes, she said, her voice firm, and I'm very proud of that. Honest work with dignity, unlike you, who betrayed a friend's trust out of greed. Claudio took a threatening step toward her. Ricardo placed himself between the two. Get out, Ricardo said. Now, before I call the police. You're not going to call the police, Claudio said, regaining some of his arrogance, because you know what will happen if this gets out. Scandal, stocks plummeting, customers running away, suppliers breaking contracts. You will lose everything anyway. It was true, and everyone in the room knew it. So what do you want? Ricardo asked. Claudio smiled, a cold smile. 24 hours. Let me clear my way out. Let me organize things. And I disappear. You cancel the merger, invent some excuse, and we pretend that none of this happened. And the evidence? Marina asked. What evidence? Claudio looked at her. Bank transfers can be explained. Shell companies can be dissolved. Without witnesses, without a formal complaint, there is no case. He was right. Marina felt despair rising. They had the evidence, but they didn't have a solid case. Not yet. Ricardo was silent for a long moment. Then he nodded. 24 hours, he said. But you resign, officially, and give back the 5 million. Claudio smiled victoriously. Deal made. He turned to leave, followed by the 3 accountants. But at the door, he stopped. He looked at Marina one last time. You should have stayed in your place, he said with contempt. Delivery girls don't change the world. They only deliver things. And he left, slamming the door. Marina stood still, shaking, not out of fear, of anger, of humiliation, of injustice. Ricardo placed his hand on her shoulder. Are you well? Marina took a deep breath. He thought of David. He thought about the 127 rejections. She thought about every time she was invisible, ignored, diminished because of the color of her skin. I am, she said, and we won't let him get away unscathed. Ricardo frowned. But Marina, he's right. No more evidence. No witnesses. We'll find it. Marina looked at the laptop. He made a mistake. What mistake? He confessed. In front of 4 witnesses. Marina looked at Fernanda, who had remained silent the entire time in the corner of the room. Did you record it? Fernanda, with shaking hands, took her cell phone out of her pocket. Every word. Marina smiled for the first time in hours. Ricardo blinked, surprised. Did you plan this? I learned something making deliveries, Marina said. Always have a plan B. The midnight. Marina was alone in the room, poring over the documents. Ricardo had gone home, but she had asked him to stay. There was something more, something hidden. She could feel it. His cell phone rang. It was the grandmother. Marina, Davy doesn't want to sleep without talking to you. Let him go, Grandma. His son's sleepy voice came from the other side. Mom, are you still working? Still, love, but it's important work. I'm helping a man who's in trouble. Are you like a superhero? Marina laughed, her eyes teary. No, my love, I'm just a mom who wants to do right. But doing the right thing is a hero's thing, right, Mom? Marina was silent. She thought about all the times she did the right thing and was ignored. She thought about all the times she told the truth and was called a liar. He thought about all the times he was invisible. Yes, son, it's a hero thing. Then you are my hero. Marina hung up her cell phone with tears streaming down her face. He took a deep breath. He wiped his eyes and went back to the documents. It was then that she saw it. A footnote on the page on 134, almost invisible. An address, a meeting, a date, tomorrow 2 p.m. Marina opened Google Maps. The address was a notary's office in the city center, and the meeting was for share transfer. His heart raced. Claudio wasn't going to wait 24 hours. He was going to complete the operation tomorrow, before Ricardo could react. Marina took out her cell phone and called Ricardo. Mr. Oliveira, you need to come here, now. Marina discovered that Claudio isn't going to wait 24 hours. There's a meeting scheduled for tomorrow at a notary's office to transfer shares. The coup is closer than they imagined. Will Ricardo be notified in time? And who else is involved in this secret meeting? Ricardo arrived at the office 40 minutes later. Disheveled hair, poorly buttoned coat, wide eyes. Marina was waiting for him at the door to the room, holding the laptop as if it were a weapon. Show me, he said without preamble. Marina opened the document. The bluish light from the screen illuminated Ricardo's tense face as he read. Address of the registry office. Meeting time, 2 p.m. Participants, Claudio Mendez, representatives of Almeida Corp., and a name that made Ricardo choke. Dr. Henrique Almeida, he whispered, the owner of Almeida Corp. He will be there in person. And there's more. Marina clicked on another file. I found the draft of what they are going to sign. It's not just a transfer of shares. It is an irrevocable power of attorney. If you sign anything today or tomorrow morning, they have legal authority to execute the merger without your final approval. Ricardo dropped into the chair, his face gray. They were preparing me to sign this power of attorney today. If you hadn't shown up, but I showed up, Marina said, closing the laptop. And now we need a plan. Ricardo looked at her. He saw determination. He saw courage. He saw something he hadn't seen in his executives in years. True loyalty. Why are you doing this? He asked. You could have handed over the medicine and left. You could be home with your son right now, but you're here risking your safety. Why? Marina was silent for a moment. Then he replied, his voice low but firm. Because I spent my whole life being invisible, being ignored, being treated as if I had no value. She looked at Ricardo. Today, for the first time in years, someone listened to me, saw me, treated me like I mattered. I won't let them steal this from you. Ricardo felt a tightness in his chest. Recognition, blame, admiration. Thank you, he said simply. Marina nodded and opened a new folder on her laptop. We need to find out who else is involved. 15 accountants reviewed the documents. At least some must be getting paid. If we can get one of them to talk. How? Ricardo asked. They are expensive professionals, loyal to whoever pays the most. Marina smiled lightly, a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Everyone has a weak point. We just need to find it. 5:37 a.m. Marina hadn't slept. Neither does Ricardo. The presidential room was lit by 2 table lamps. Papers scattered everywhere, cups of cold coffee forgotten. Marina had mapped out the entire operation, created an organization chart on the wall with colored post-its, names, dates, values, connections. In the center, Claudio Mendez. Around, 15 accountants, 3 lawyers, 2 auditors, Dr. Henrique Almeida, and in red, circled 3 times, Zhang Hujuan Yi, International Bank Transfer. Look at this. Marina pointed to a series of transactions. In the last 3 years, Almeida Corp made 17 transfers to accounts in tax havens, always on the same day of the month. Always broken values, never round numbers. Money laundering, Ricardo said. Exactly. And here, she clicked on another tab. 3 of these accounts belong to consulting firms. Do you know who the registered owner is? Claudio. No. Marina turned the laptop. Fernando Macedo, one of 15 accountants. He's the weak link. Ricardo bowed. Fernando Macedo, 43 years old, junior partner at a mid-size firm, married, 2 children, address in a middle-class neighborhood. He wasn't rich. Not yet. He hasn't received the final payment yet, Marina said. Claudio was going to pay everyone after the merger, but now that the merger isn't going to happen, he's going to be left with nothing. 3 years of unrewarded dirty work. Ricardo understood what Marina was getting at. We will offer immunity in exchange for testimony. Exactly. Marina took out her cell phone. But we need to go to him before Claudio knows we found out. If we wait until after the registry office meeting, he's going to disappear, Ricardo added. Same as Claudio. Marina looked at her watch. 5:42 a.m. Fernando lives in Moema. If we leave now, we'll get there before 7, before he goes to the office. Ricardo stood up, picking up his jacket. Let's go. 6:47 a.m. Quiet street in Moema. Ricardo's car, a black sedan with tinted windows, stopped in front of a 1-story house with a well-kept garden. Marina looked out the window. He saw toys in the yard, a children's bicycle leaning against the garage, a home, a family, and a man about to lose everything. She and Ricardo got out of the car. They walked to the gate. Ricardo rang the doorbell. Silence. It rang again. A female voice came from the intercom, sleepy and irritated. Who is this at this hour? Mrs. Macedo. My name is Ricardo Oliveira. I urgently need to speak to your husband. Long pause. Then, Ricardo Oliveira, the CEO of Oliveira Holdings. Yes, ma'am. Another pause. Marina heard muffled voices inside. Quick discussion. Then the door opened. Fernando Macedo was in pajamas, hair disheveled, eyes wide with panic. He saw Ricardo, saw Marina, and I knew it was over. Mr. Oliveira, I don't know what. Inside, Ricardo said, his voice low and dangerous. Now, Fernando looked back. His wife was in the living room, holding a cup of coffee, confused and scared. He swallowed hard and made room for them to enter. The house was small but cozy, family photos on the walls, children's drawings on the refrigerator, the smell of fresh coffee in the air. Marina felt a pang of empathy. This man had sold himself, but he had reasons. He had a family. There was pressure. I was afraid. She knew fear. Children, Ricardo said, looking at the photos. How many years? 6, 9, Fernando said, his voice shaking. Mr. Oliveira, if you are here because of the documents, I know everything, Ricardo cut in. I know about shell companies. I know about offshore accounts. I know about today's meeting at the registry office. Fernando turned white. His legs wobbled. He leaned against the wall. I had no choice. Everyone has a choice, Marina said, speaking for the first time. Fernando looked at her, confused. You chose the money. You chose to betray a client's trust. He chose to put 1,200 families at risk out of greed. You know nothing, Fernando exploded, tears welling up. You don't know what it's like. The bills, private schools, the health plan. My daughter has severe asthma and needs very expensive medicine. Claudio offered me $500,000, $500,000, for work that took 3 years and that no one would find out about. But we found out, Ricardo said calmly, and now you have a choice again. One last choice. Fernando looked at him, hopeful and desperate. Which? Testify against Claudio. Give me access to all the evidence, all documents, all conversations, all. Ricardo approached. And in return, I won't sue you. I'm not reporting you to the CRC. I don't destroy your life. Fernando breathed quickly, sweat running down his face. If I do that, Claudio will kill me. Literally. He has connections, dangerous people. Claudio will be in prison until the end of the day, Marina said. If you cooperate. Fernando looked at Marina. He saw determination. You saw the truth, and he saw something more. A chance for redemption. I have the emails, he said, his voice low. All emails. I kept it as insurance, if Claudio didn't pay me. Ricardo and Marina exchanged a look. Where are they? Ricardo asked. On my notebook. In the office. Fernando looked at his watch. I can get it now, before the office opens. Then let's go, Ricardo said. Now. ID 7:53 a.m. our accounting office. Torre Corporate. Marina waited in the car while Ricardo and Fernando entered the building. She looked around. The city woke up slowly. People going to work. Deliverers on motorbikes and bicycles. She saw a black delivery woman pedal past, a thermal backpack on her back, and felt a tightness in her chest. 24 hours ago, she was that woman, invisible, tired, fighting to survive. Now he was at the center of a multi-million-dollar corporate conspiracy, and the penny hadn't completely sunk in yet. His cell phone vibrated. It was the grandmother. "Marina, Davy woke up asking for you. Where are you?" "Still working, Grandma. I promise I'll make it up to you tonight." "My daughter, are you okay? Your voice is different." Marina smiled, her eyes teary. "I'm fine, Grandma. I'm changing my life. I think I'm finally changing. Thank God, girl. You deserve." He always deserved it. Marina hung up and rested her head on the car seat. He closed his eyes, and for the first time in years, he allowed himself to remember. Flashback 2 years ago. Marina was sitting in the waiting room of an auditing company. Suit borrowed from the neighbor. CV printed on good paper. Discreet makeup. She had studied the company. Decorated numbers. Prepared answers. The interviewer, a white woman in her 50s, entered the room and stopped when she saw Marina. The look was quick, but revealing. Surprise. Discomfort. Deception. "Are you Marina Santos?" she asked, looking at the resume. "Yes, ma'am. Great pleasure." The interview lasted 12 minutes. The woman barely looked at Marina. He asked empty questions. Didn't ask about experience. He didn't ask about college. He didn't ask anything that mattered. At the end he said, "Thank you for coming. We get in touch." Marina knew they wouldn't call. I knew by the look, by tone, for the rush to finish. He left the building, went into the public bathroom in the mall next door, and cried. He cried with rage, of humiliation, of tiredness. And then she dried her tears, redid her makeup, and went to pick up Davi from school, because giving up was not an option. End of flashback. Marina opened her eyes when Ricardo and Fernando left the building. Fernando carried a flash drive. Ricardo's face was closed. They got into the car. Fernando handed the pen drive to Marina. "It's all there," he said. "Emails, spreadsheets, meeting audios, all." Marina connected the pen drive to the laptop, opened the first folder. His eyes widened. "My God," she whispered. It's a complete confession." Ricardo bowed. He saw emails from Claudio coordinating the fraud. He saw spreadsheets showing payments to 15 accountants. He saw audio of meetings where the plan was openly discussed. And he saw something else, something that made his blood run cold. "Fernando," he said, his voice low and dangerous. "Who is the investor?" Fernando swallowed dryly. "I don't know. Claudio never said. But there is someone above him, someone who financed the entire operation." Marina clicked on a specific email, read aloud. "The investor approved the schedule. Merger in 90 days. After that, Oliveira leaves and you take over as interim CEO. Total payment 15 million, don't fail." Ricardo was silent. Then he let out a bitter laugh. "Claudio was going to take me out of my own company, and I was going to take my place. It wasn't just money," Marina said, understanding. "It was power. He wanted his throne." Fernando nodded. "He talked about it all the time. He said you were outdated, who didn't understand the new market, that he deserved the chair." Ricardo closed his eyes. 15 years of friendship, 15 years of trust. All lies. "Let's finish him off," Ricardo said, opening his eyes. "Today, at the registry office meeting. Let's expose everything." Fernando turned pale. "Mr. Oliveira, if we do this, the investor will come after me. He has resources. There are dangerous people. Then you will testify under police protection," Ricardo said. "I'm going to call my lawyer now. He will prepare everything. You and your family stay safe, and Claudio will pay." Fernando took a deep breath. He nodded. There was no going back. Marina disconnected the flash drive and put it in her backpack. He felt his weight, the weight of the evidence, the weight of truth, and I knew that from that moment on, she was a target. 11:32 I'm Oliveira Holdings parking lot. Marina was getting out of Ricardo's car when 2 men in suits approached. She recognized one of them. It was the security guard who was at yesterday's meeting. "Miss Santos," he said, blocking her path. "I need you to come with me." Marina looked at Ricardo, who had gone ahead and still hadn't noticed. She was alone. "Why?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. "Orders from Dr. Mendez. He wants to talk to you, in particular." Marina felt her heart race. Claudio knew. Somehow he knew she had the proof. "I'm not going anywhere with you," she said, taking a step back. The second man stepped forward, bigger, more threatening. "It wasn't a request," he said. Marina looked around. The parking lot was empty. Ricardo had entered the building. She was alone and scared. "If you touch me, I'll scream," she said. "Scream," the first man said, taking out his cell phone. "But first, look at this." He rotated the cell phone screen. Marina saw a photo, and his blood ran cold. It was David, leaving school, holding grandmother's hand. "Pretty child," the man said with a cold smile. "It would be a shame if something happened to him." Marina felt tears welling up, not out of fear, of fury. They had crossed the line. They had threatened his son. "You're not going to touch him," she said, her voice shaking with anger. "That depends on you." The man put away his cell phone. "Dr. Mendez wants the pen drive. Now. And he wants you to disappear. Get back to your deliveries. Forget everything you saw. And your child is safe." Marina breathed quickly. I thought quickly. I needed time. I needed help. "The flash drive isn't with me," she lied. "I left it with Ricardo Oliveira, in his safe." The two men looked at each other. The first one spoke on the radio, quietly. Then he looked at Marina. "Dr. Mendez wants to talk to you, personally, now." Marina knew that if she entered in that car, I might not make it out alive. But he also knew that if he didn't go, David was in danger. She thought of her son, in your dreams of being an astronaut, in your smiles, in your hugs, and he made the most difficult decision of his life. "Okay," she said. "I go." The men smiled. They took Marina by the arms, one on each side, and they led her to a black car with tinted windows. Marina got into the back seat. The door knocked. The car started, and no one saw it. CI, or Marina was kidnapped by Claudio's henchmen. They threatened Davi to force her to hand over the flash drive. Ricardo doesn't know she was taken. The registry office meeting is in less than 3 hours. Marina is in mortal danger. Who is the investor financing the entire operation? And what will Claudio do with Marina now that he has her in his hands? The black car stopped at an abandoned warehouse in the industrial area. Marina was dragged inside. The place smelled of mold and machine oil. Claudio Mendez was there, sitting on a plastic chair, smoking a cigarette. He looked at Marina with contempt. "Sit down," he said, pointing to another chair. The goons pushed her. Marina fell into a sitting position, her heart beating out of control. But he kept his face firm. She wasn't going to give him the satisfaction of seeing her break. "Where is the pen drive?" Claudio asked, taking a long drag. "I already told you. With Ricardo Oliveira. In his safe." Claudio smiled. A cold smile. "You're a terrible liar, Marina." He got up and walked towards her. "My men saw you putting it in your backpack. So I'll ask again. Where is it?" Marina swallowed hard. He thought quickly. The pen drive was in the backpack which the henchman had left in the car. She had seconds to come up with something. "I made a copy," she said. "I sent it by email to 3 different people, lawyers, journalists. If anything happens to me, they open the files." Claudio turned pale. Then he gave a nervous laugh. "Bluff! You didn't even have time. Test," Marina said, lifting her chin. "Kill me, and find out." The silence was tense. Claudio looked at the henchman. He looked at Marina. "I was calculating, weighing risks." Marina took advantage of the hesitation. "You already lost, Claudio. Ricardo knows everything. Fernando gave you away. The police must be looking for you by now." "Fernando?" Claudio spat on the floor. "That cowardly worm. I should have seen it coming." "And the investor?" Marina took a risk. "Does he know you failed? That a simple delivery woman destroyed 3 years of planning?" Claudio blushed. He took a step forward, fist raised. Marina closed her eyes, waiting for the blow, but he didn't come. "You're not worth it," Claudio said, lowering his hand. "You are nothing. A lunchbox delivery girl who got lucky. But luck runs out, Marina. And when it's over, your son will be left without a mother." Marina felt fury explode inside her. He got up from his chair, ignoring the henchman. "You don't touch my son," she said, her voice low and deadly. "You can kill me. It can break me. But if you dare touch him, I swear to God I will haunt you until the end of your miserable life." Claudio blinked, surprised by the ferocity. For a second, he saw something in Marina that made him step back. Not afraid. Power. The power of a mother protecting her child. But then he composed himself. He took out his cell phone and called. "Hello? It's the investor. We have a problem." Marina heard a muffled voice on the other side. Male, authoritarian, cold. "Yes, sir," Claudio said. "The delivery girl, she has the proof, and made copies." Pause. "Yes, sir. I understand." He hung up and looked at Marina. "You're lucky. The investor wants to talk to you." Marina frowned. "Who is he?" "You'll find out soon." Claudio waved to the henchman. "Take her to the car. We have a meeting at 2 in the afternoon." 12:47 p.m. Oliveira Holdings office. Ricardo was desperately looking for Marina. He had called 15 times, sent 20 messages. Nothing. He went up to the 22nd floor, asked the secretary, the security guards, the cleaners. Nobody had seen her. That's when he found her thermal backpack, abandoned on the ground in the parking lot. Next to it, a broken cell phone. Ricardo felt his blood run cold. He took out his cell phone. The screen was cracked, but it still worked. There was an unsent message, hastily typed. "Claudio took me. Galpo Industrial Zone." The message stopped there, as if she had been interrupted. Ricardo ran back to the car, dialing his lawyer's number. "Mauricio, it's Ricardo. I need you to track a cell phone now and call the police. My consultant was kidnapped. 1:22 p.m. Central Police Station." Ricardo was sitting in front of Delegate Patricia Moreira. A black woman in her early 40s, hair tied in a tight bun, penetrating eyes. She listened to the story in silence, taking notes. Then let me see if I understand, she said when Ricardo finished. Your employee, who is technically an app delivery person and not a registered employee, was kidnapped by your former financial director because he discovered a fraud of $400 million? Exactly, Ricardo said. And I have all the proof. He placed the flash drive on the table. It's all here. Emails, audios, spreadsheets, a complete confession. Deputy Patricia took the pen drive and connected it to the computer. He started reading. His eyes widened with each page. My God, she whispered. It's international money laundering, tax evasion, forgery of documents. She looked at Ricardo. Why didn't you report it sooner? Because I found out yesterday, Ricardo said. Thanks to Marina. She saw the error. She saved me. And now she's in danger because of me. Deputy Patricia looked at him for a long moment. She's black, isn't she? Ricardo blinked, confused. Yes. Why? Because I know this story, Patricia said, a bitterness in her voice. Black women do the work, save the company, and in the end, it disappears. It becomes a statistic. She got up, but not this time. I'll issue a search warrant, and I'm going in person. Ricardo felt enormous relief. Thank you, delegate. Don't thank me yet, she said. The meeting at the registry office is at 2 in the afternoon, right? Yes. So that's where we're going to catch everyone. She picked up the phone. I will mobilize the anti-kidnapping division and the financial crimes task force. Your former director won't get out of this alive. Legally, I mean. Ricardo smiled for the first time in hours. 1:51 p.m. São Paulo Notary Center. Marina was pushed into the registry office. His hands were tied, but he was standing. He maintained his dignity. Claudio was next to her, nervous. The two henchmen in the back, and in the meeting room on the second floor, they were waiting. Dr. Henrique Almeida and 3 other men in suits, and a woman. Marina recognized her immediately, not in person, but from the photo I had seen in the documents. Dr. Silvia Tavares, CEO of an investment fund, participation in dozens of companies, billionaire, powerful, and the investor. Marina swallowed hard. It wasn't a man, it was a woman, and he was smiling. So you're the famous delivery girl, Sylvia said with a velvety and dangerous voice, the woman who destroyed my 3-year plan. Marina didn't respond. He kept his gaze steady. I admire your courage, Sylvia continued, getting up. But courage without power is just stupidity. You've entered a game much bigger than yourself, darling, and now he will pay the price. What price? Marina asked. Kill me? Kill my son? And do you think this will solve it? Sylvia laughed. To kill? Please. I'm not vulgar. She approached Marina. I'll offer you something better. Money, 500,000 reais, for you to disappear, to forget everything, to go back to your deliveries and pretend that none of this happened. Marina was silent. 500,000 reais, enough money to change your life, to give David a house, to never cycle in the sun again. But then he thought about Ricardo. He thought about the 1,200 employees at Oliveira Holdings. He thought about the families who would lose everything if that fraud wasn't exposed. And he thought of David. What were you going to say when he grew up and asked, Mom, why didn't you do the right thing when you had the chance? No, Marina said firmly. I don't accept it. Sylvia blinked, surprised. No? Are you refusing 500,000 reais? I am. Marina lifted her chin. Because unlike you, I am priceless. I have dignity. The silence was absolute. Claudio looked at Marina as if she had gone crazy. The other men looked at each other. Sylvia turned pale with anger. So you chose the difficult path, she said, her voice icy. Claudio, finish this. Now. Claudio took a gun from one of the henchmen's waist. He pointed to Marina. His hands were shaking. I'm sorry, he said, but you left me no choice. Marina closed her eyes. He thought of David. He thought about his grandmother. He thought about every morning cycling through the city, invisible but alive. At least I died doing the right thing, she thought. And then the door exploded. 2:02 p.m. Delegate Patricia entered like a hurricane, followed by 8 armed police officers. Guns pointed. Shouts. Police! Hands up! Drop the weapons! Claudio froze. The henchmen dropped their weapons. Sylvia turned white. Dr. Henrique Almeida tried to run and was knocked down by 2 police officers. Ricardo entered right behind the delegate. He saw Marina with her hands tied, tears streaming down her face. Alive. Marina! He ran to her and untied the ropes. Are you well? Marina couldn't speak. He just nodded, sobbing. Ricardo hugged her. For the first time in 24 hours, she felt safe. Deputy Patricia walked to Silvia Tavares and put on the handcuffs. Dr. Silvia Tavares is arrested for association with criminal activity, money laundering, corporate fraud, and attempted murder. You have the right to remain silent. You have no proof, Sylvia shouted. I'm going to sue you all. Evidence? Patricia smiled. We have 15 hours of recordings, emails, spreadsheets, and an eyewitness. She pointed to Marina. That woman over there, who you tried to bribe and kill, is your sentence. Sylvia looked at Marina with pure hatred. Marina looked back at her. No fear, no shaking, with the strength of someone who survived the worst and didn't break. Take everyone, Patricia ordered the police. Claudio, Sylvia, Dr. Henrique and the henchmen were dragged out. The handcuffs glowed under the fluorescent light. Shouts of injustice and I'm going to sue echoed through the hallway. But Marina didn't listen. She was hugging Ricardo, crying with relief, from exhaustion, of victory. Thank you, Ricardo said, his voice breaking. You saved me, saved my company, saved 1,200 families. Marina walked away, wiping her eyes. I only did the right thing, she said simply. 1634, Central Police Station Testimony Room. Marina gave her complete statement. Every detail, every number, every threat. Delegate Patricia recorded everything, taking notes with surgical precision. Marina, she said when they finished, you know you're going to be called to testify in court, right? This case is going to be big, very big. I know, Marina said, and I'm ready. Patricia smiled, a smile of respect. You are brave, braver than many police officers I know. She leaned over. How many resumes did you say you sent out? 127. Patricia shook her head in disbelief. 127 rejections, and yet you didn't give up. She took out a card and handed it to Marina. When all this is over, call me. I have contacts, good companies that hire for talent, not skin color. I will make sure you get the interview you deserve. Marina looked at the card, her eyes teary. Thank you, she whispered. 6:47 p.m., Marina's grandmother's house, outskirts. Marina opened the door and was greeted by a piercing scream. Mother! David ran and threw himself into her arms. Marina picked him up, squeezing him tightly, crying openly now. Donna Celia came behind, wiping her eyes with her apron. My daughter. I saw it in the newspaper. That company case. Was it you? Were you there? Marina nodded, still hugging her son. I was, Grandma, and everything is fine now. He finished. Mom, you are a real hero, Davi said, his eyes shining. Just like the Avengers. Marina laughed through her tears. No, my love. I only did what was right. Anyone would have done it. It's not true, said a voice behind her. Marina turned around. Ricardo was at the door holding a folder of documents. He entered shyly, as if stepping on sacred territory. Mr. Oliveira, Marina said, surprised. Like you, I asked the deputy for your address. I hope you don't mind. He looked around. The house was small, but clean and full of love. Photos on the walls, crochet on the sofa, smell of homemade food. I came to bring you something. He opened the folder and took out a document. Employment contract. Director of Compliance and Internal Audit at Oliveira Holdings. Salary, 25,000 Rs per month. Complete health plan, food voucher, annual bonus, and a non-negotiable condition. You teach me to never trust blindly again. Marina took the document with shaking hands. Read, reread. I didn't believe it. Mr. Oliveira, it's Ricardo, and you deserve it, Marina. It deserves more than that. But that's what I can offer now. He smiled. Accepted? Marina looked at David. He looked at his grandmother. He looked at the contract. And he felt for the first time in years that the world was balancing. That justice, even if slow, existed. That dignity and character mattered. I accept, she said, her voice firm. Ricardo extended his hand. Marina squeezed. And in that handshake, two worlds met. Rich and poor, white and black, boss and maid, but above all, two people of character. Two people who did the right thing. That night, Marina was lying next to Davi, watching cartoons. He was already asleep, his head on her shoulder. Donna Celia entered the room with a cup of tea. Here, my daughter, you need to rest. Marina took the cup but didn't drink. He stared at the ceiling, processing everything that had happened in 48 hours. Grandma, she said, her voice low, I still don't believe it. I still think I'll wake up and find out it was a dream. It's not a dream, Marina. Donna Celia sat on the edge of the bed. It's a reward. God saw their sacrifices. He saw your tears and decided it was time for you to shine. Marina smiled, her eyes teary. I just wanted to do the right thing, Grandma. And he did. And that's why you won. Donna Celia kissed her granddaughter's forehead. Sleep, my daughter. Tomorrow a new life begins. Marina closed her eyes, and for the first time in years he slept peacefully. But somewhere in the city, Sylvia Tavares was in the police station cell, looking at the ceiling. His lawyer had just left. Bail denied. Preventive detention ordered. Accounts blocked. Empire crumbling. And all because of a delivery girl. She gave a bitter laugh, a laugh from those who lost. A laugh from someone who underestimated the power of an invisible woman. Marina Santos, she whispered into the void. You won this battle. But the war is just beginning. In the darkness of the cell, his eyes glowed with something dangerous, something that promised revenge. Marina was saved and the villains were arrested. Ricardo offered her a director position, but in the cell, Sylvia Tavares swears revenge. Is the war over, or are you just starting? And Marina, is she really safe now? 3 months later, Marina Santos entered the Oliveira Tower building through the front door, not on the services side, not with a red helmet and thermal backpack, but with a navy blue blazer, a leather briefcase, and a badge that said, Marina Santos, Compliance Director. The security guard at the entrance, the same one who 3 months ago had looked at her with contempt, now opened the door and nodded respectfully. Good morning, Dr. Marina. Marina smiled. I still hadn't gotten used to, Doctra, but I was learning to accept it. I was learning that dignity was not a favor. It was right. She entered the mirrored elevator. He saw his reflection, natural hair loose on his shoulders, light makeup, rested eyes. She was no longer the exhausted woman who cycled 12 hours a day. She was a woman who had changed her own destiny and the fate of 1,200 families. The elevator stopped on the 22nd floor. The doors opened, and Marina stepped into the hallway where it had all started. Ricardo was waiting at the door of her office. Yes, hers. A room with windows, a real table, a new computer. Marina still had to pinch herself to believe it. Good morning, Marina, Ricardo said, handing out a cup of coffee. Ready for the big day? Marina took the cup and took a deep breath. Ready? Let's get this over with once and for all. Today was Judgment Day, the day that Claudio Mendez, Sylvia Tavares, Dr. Henrique Almeida, and the 15 corrupt accountants were going to hear their sentences, and Marina was going to testify one last time. 10:34 a.m., Central Criminal Forum, Room 7. The room was packed. Journalists, lawyers, families of the accused, employees of Oliveira Holdings, and in the center, sitting side by side on a row of chairs, the defendants. Claudio was thin, gray hair disheveled, eyes sunken. 3 months of preventive detention had destroyed the arrogant man Marina had known. Sylvia Tavares maintained an upright posture, but her face was aged and marked. Dr. Henrique looked at the floor, defeated. Marina entered the room and all heads turned. She walked to the witness chair, ignoring the stares. Sat down. He placed his hand on the Bible. Do you swear to tell the truth, only the truth, nothing but the truth? The clerk asked. I swear, Marina said, her voice firm. The prosecutor stood up. He was a black man of about 50, with round glasses, a deep and imposing voice. Dr. Paulo Mendez, no relation to Claudio, he had made a point of clarifying. Miss Santos, he began, can you tell us, in your own words, how you discovered the fraud? Marina took a deep breath, and he did. From the moment he entered the presidential room with the insulin medicine, from the moment he saw the wrong numbers, from the moment she decided to speak even though she knew she could be expelled, humiliated, ignored, she told about the threats, about the kidnapping, about David's photo, about the 500,000 reais he refused, and when he finished, the silence in the room was absolute. The prosecutor looked at the jury. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the witness you just heard from is not a Wall Street executive. It is not an international auditor. She is a woman who delivered lunchboxes by bicycle to survive. He pointed to Marina, and it was she who saved a company worth 400 million reais, because he had courage, because he had character, because he refused to be an accomplice in evil. He turned to the defendants, and these men and women here, he pointed to Claudio, Sylvia, the accountants, they had everything, education, money, power, but they had nothing that mattered. They had no ethics, they had no honor, they had no humanity. Marina saw Claudio lower his eyes. He saw Sylvia purse her lips, furious. He saw the other defendants cower in their chairs. Thank you, Miss Santos, the prosecutor said. You can go down. Marina got up, passed by the row of defendants, and when he passed Claudio, he whispered quietly, You destroyed my life. Marina stopped. He looked at him, and he replied, his voice calm but cutting, No, I saved the lives of 1,200 people. You destroyed yours alone when you chose greed. And he kept walking. He left the room with his head held high, and he never looked back. 6 hours later, the jury is back. The sentence was read. Claudio Mendez, 12 years in prison for criminal association, corporate fraud, money laundering, and attempted qualified murder. Sylvia Tavares, 15 years in prison for the same crimes, aggravated by being the intellectual mentor. Dr. Henrique Almeida, 10 years in prison for complicity and money laundering. The 15 accountants, sentences ranging from 4 to 8 years, plus permanent revocation of professional registrations. Fernando Macedo, conditional release due to plea bargaining and collaboration with justice. Marina was in the courtroom when she heard the verdicts. Ricardo was next to her. Delegate Patricia was behind. When the judge banged the gavel for the last time, Marina felt something she hadn't felt in years. Peace. Not revenge, not cruel satisfaction, just peace. The peace of knowing that justice, even though it was slow, had won. That right had prevailed. That dignity mattered more than money. Ricardo placed his hand on her shoulder. "Thank you," he said, his voice breaking. "For everything." "Thank you," Marina replied, "for listening to me, for seeing me, for giving me a chance when no one else did." 7:47 p.m., Oliveira Holdings headquarters, Events Hall. The company organized a celebration, not for winning in court, that would be vulgar, but for survival, for resistance, for proof that integrity was still worth something in the corporate world. 1,200 employees were present, managers, operators, cleaning ladies, security guards, secretaries, everyone who had been saved by the courage of a black delivery woman who refused to remain silent. Ricardo took the stage, microphone in hand. He looked at the crowd. 3 months ago, he began, I was seconds away from signing a document that would have destroyed this company. It would have destroyed 1,200 jobs. It would have destroyed families. And I didn't even know. Absolute silence. All heads turned towards him. But a woman came into my room. A woman I didn't know. A woman who was just there to deliver medicine. And she saw what 15 expensive accountants did not see, or they pretended not to see. He looked at Marina, who was sitting in the first row next to Davi and Dona Celia. She saw the truth, and he had the courage to speak. Even though I knew I could lose my job, even though I knew I could be humiliated, even though I knew it could put my life at risk. Ricardo paused. Marina Santos didn't just save Oliveira Holdings. She saved us all, saved our families, our dreams, our futures, and for that reason, he extended his hand to her. Marina, please come up here. Marina blinked in surprise. David pushed her lightly. Go, Mom. You are the heroine. Marina took the stage, her legs shaking. Ricardo handed over the microphone. Marina began, her voice trembling. I didn't do anything special. I just saw an error and I couldn't keep quiet. This is special, a voice shouted from the audience. It was Fernanda, the secretary who had recorded Claudio's confession. In a world where everyone pretends not to see, you saw it, and he acted. Applause. They started low, then they grew, then they exploded. 1,200 pairs of hands clapping, 1,200 smiling faces, 1,200 grateful hearts. Marina looked at the crowd. He saw white, black, Asian, indigenous people, saw managers and cleaning ladies. He saw rich and poor, all united, all saved, all alive because of a choice she made in 3 seconds. And then Marina saw Davy in the front row standing, applauding, his eyes shining with pride, and she lost her composure. He cried. He cried with relief, of gratitude, of love. Thank you, she said into the microphone, her voice breaking. Thank you for giving me a chance, for seeing me, for listening to me. I spent years being invisible, being ignored, being treated like I don't matter. But you showed me that I matter, that every life matters. What character matters more than surname? That truth matters more than convenience. She wiped her eyes. And if there's one lesson I learned in these 3 months, it's this. Never remain silent when you see injustice. Never lower your head when you know something is wrong. Because one voice, can change everything. It can save lives. It could change the game. It can bring justice. The applause returned, even louder. Marina got off the stage and went straight to hug Davi. He hugged his son tightly, crying and laughing at the same time. I love you, my love, she whispered. I love you too, Mom, and you are the best hero in the world. 2 years later, Marina Santos was sitting in her office now on the 23rd floor, a recent promotion, reviewing reports when the secretary knocked on the door. Dr. Marina, you have a visitor. Marina frowned. I don't have a meeting scheduled today. I know, but she said it's important. She said that. The secretary hesitated, said that you saved her life. Marina was curious. He waved to the secretary to let him in, and then he saw it. A young black woman in her early 20s, curly hair loose, document folder in hand, eyes shining with nervousness and hope. Dr. Marina? She said, extending her hand. My name is Julia Rodriguez. I came to thank you. Marina shook her hand, confused. To thank? We don't know each other, not in person, but you know me, or rather, you know my story. Julia took a deep breath. I am the daughter of one of the cleaners at Oliveira Holdings. My mother has worked here for 15 years, and when that fraud almost happened, she would have been fired. We would have lost everything, but the lady stopped him. You saved her job, saved our home, saved my college. Marina felt a tightness in her chest. Is your mother, Dona Marta, from the night shift? Marina remembered, a small woman with a wide smile who always greeted everyone with joy. Donna Marta is incredible, Marina said, smiling. She is, and because of you she still has a job. And Julia opened the folder. I graduated, accounting sciences, just like you, and I came to ask for an opportunity, an internship, a chance, just like the one you received. Marina looked at Julia, saw herself 2 years ago. He saw hope, he saw determination, he saw talent waiting to be recognized. How many companies did you send your resume to? Marina asked. 83, Julia said, lowering her eyes. And I received 0 responses. Marina nodded. I knew the pain. I knew rejection. He knew invisibility. You're hired, Marina said simply. Julia blinked in disbelief. What? You're hired. As my assistant. Salary compatible with the market. Complete benefits. And a promise. I will teach you everything I know. And you will teach others. Because that's how we change the world. One opportunity at a time. Julia burst into tears. Marina got up and hugged the young woman. And in that hug the cycle closed. What Marina had received she was passing on. The chance. The dignity. The visibility. That night. Casa de Marina. New neighborhood. Marina entered the apartment. 3 bedrooms, balcony, working elevator. And was greeted by Davi, now 9 years old in uniform. Mother, the teacher said we're going to visit the planetarium next week. How cool, love. Marina hung up her bag and hugged him. Are you excited? Very. I want to learn about rockets. He ran to the bedroom, and Marina heard her grandmother in the kitchen. Donna Celia was preparing dinner, humming a gospel song softly. Marina leaned against the doorframe watching. Grandma had a lighter attitude now, less worried, less tired, because I no longer had to worry about late rent, with a cut electricity bill, with a lack of food. Grandma, Marina said, thank you. Donna Celia turned around, surprised. Thank you for what, my daughter? For never giving up on me. For taking care of Davi when I was cycling 12 hours a day. For believing when no one else believed. Donna Celia put down the spoon, wiped her hands on her apron and hugged her granddaughter. You were always special, Marina. Always. I just prayed that the world would finally see. Marina cried on her grandmother's shoulder. He cried with gratitude. He cried with relief. He cried with joy. And then he dried his tears, went to the balcony, and looked at the city below, saw the lights, saw the movement. He saw other delivery people pedaling, invisible, tired, struggling. And he made a silent promise. I will help. I will create training programs. I will hire people who no one hires. I'll give it a chance. I will open doors, because I know what it's like to be on the other side. 3 years later, Federal University Auditorium. Lecture. Marina was on stage, microphone in hand, speaking to 200 accounting students, mostly black, mostly peripherals, most with the same eyes she had 5 years ago, hope mixed with fear of being invisible forever. I want you to record something, Marina said, her voice firm. The world will try to convince you that you are not good enough, who don't have the right surname, who don't have the right skin tone, that they didn't come from the right university. She paused. And you will send resumes, dozens, hundreds, and they will receive silence. They will receive no. They're going to get the door slammed in their face, and they will cry RR. They will feel small. They will feel invisible. The students nodded. They knew the pain. But I'm here to tell you one thing. Marina raised her voice. You are not invisible. You are essential. Silence. The world needs people like you. People who know what it's like to fight. People who know what it means to have character when it would be easier to give up. People who tell the truth even when it costs them dearly. She looked at the audience. You are the future, and I promise in my company, in my life, I will open doors. I'll give it a chance. I will hire for talent, not for last name. Applause. Strong. Excited. And when you get there, Marina continued, when you get the job, the position, the respect, don't forget who you were. Don't forget the fight. And open doors for those who come behind. Because that's how we change the game. Not alone. Together. Applause exploded. 200 young people standing. 200 dreams rekindled. 200 possible futures. And Marina smiled. Because he knew he had kept his promise. It had passed on. He had multiplied the chance that Ricardo had given him. Today, 7:15 a.m., Marina was in the car going to work when she passed a black delivery woman cycling in the bike lane, thermal backpack on the back, tired face, invisible. Marina stopped the car at the traffic light. He opened the window, called, "Girl, hey." The delivery girl looked scared. Nobody calls a delivery person. Nobody sees. "Yes," she said, pedaling more slowly. "How long have you been making deliveries?" 3 years. "Have you ever thought about changing areas?" The delivery girl gave a bitter laugh. "Yes, but I have 2 daughters and rent to pay. It does not give." Marina took out a business card and handed it over. I am the director of a company. We have open positions. Send your resume and put my name as a reference. The delivery girl took the card, in disbelief. Are you serious? Completely. Talent has no color. He doesn't have a last name, and everyone deserves a chance. The signal changed. Marina waved and left. In the rearview mirror, he saw the delivery girl looking at the card, tears streaming down her face, and Marina smiled, because he knew that woman would be next. The next one to break the ceiling, the next one to prove that dignity wins, the next game changer. The cycle continued, and Marina was just the beginning. Their final reflection. Marina Santos's story is not about luck. It's not about being in the right place at the right time. It's about courage. The courage to speak when it would be easier to remain silent. The courage to act when it would be safer to pretend you didn't see. The courage to choose the right thing, even when the wrong one pays better. It's about dignity. The dignity of those who work honestly, even when invisible. The dignity of those who do not sell their soul, even when desperate. The dignity of those who raise their heads, even when humiliated. It's about character. The character that cannot be bought, that doesn't sell, that resists pressure, that resists the threat, that resists complicit silence. Marina Santos was invisible for years, but it was never small, it was never weak, it has never been less. And when the moment arrived, she was ready, because character is built on difficult days, on sleepless nights, on 12-hour rides, in doors closed in your face, in silent rejections, and in the end, character wins. Claudio had money, power, 15 years of experience, but he had no character, and he lost everything. Sylvia had billions, connections, an empire, but he had no ethics, and it fell. Marina had a bicycle, a son, a grandmother, and character, and he won, because the truth is simple. In the long run, right always prevails. Not always fast, not always easy, but always. And if you are cycling today, invisible, tired, rejected, remember, you are not invisible. You are essential. Your day will come, and when it arrives, be ready, because character never fails. Ulkus hivembalyu in you? What would you do if you were in Marina's shoes? If you saw an injustice happening in front of you, would you remain silent out of fear, or would you have the courage to speak? Leave it here in the comments. From 0 to 10, what grade do you give to Marina's story? Do you know someone who, like her, fought against everything and won? Which part of the story moved you the most? If this story touched you, subscribe to the channel, activate it, and share it with someone who needs to hear this today, because stories of courage, justice, and dignity need to be told. They need to be heard. They need to be multiplied. And the next story could be yours. See you next time. Stay with God. And remember, character always wins.